This is round 3, our 50-foot sailboat that we have designed together with our naval architect and that we're currently building ourselves. We put all our ideas, after living on and sailing several boats, into the design to make our dream boat built for full-time cruising and liveaboard life. We've been building for just over a year, and at the moment we are laminating the hull.
So it's Sunday evening. I'm out here in the barn and preparing for another week. The goal for this week is to try to do the rest of the port side of the hull all the way up to the bow. That will mean a lot of work, but it is possible. I've been cleaning some tools here, and for that we're normally using acetone when we're just placing the tools in acetone during the workday, since it's faster to bring them out from acetone because it will flash off and then you can more or less use the tool directly. But for longer storage, you know, if we want to put the tools in something overnight, we use etika. I don't know the word in English for this. I think you just call it vinegar, but vinegar for us is not as strong as etika. This is 12% and I think vinegar normally is 6, something like that. Could be stronger. But anyway, it's more or less the same thing. This works great to clean epoxy away. The epoxy doesn't cure in etika. So we use this. It's a lot cheaper and nicer to work with compared to the acetone. And the only downside is that you need to wash the tools afterwards, rinse this off before you can use them. So we normally collect all that wash water and put that in containers like this, because we don't want to put the wash water with the epoxy in the drain. So we can take those jugs to the environment station to deposit them. And after that we just dip the tools in acetone, and after that they're more or less ready to use after they have dried. And the tools we've been using the most are these types of rollers. We have this, what do you call it, washer roller. So you have this vertical lines, vertical pressure. This is really good to apply a lot of pressure. And then we have this, I think you call it a finned roller. This is also good to this is just my opinions, but I think this works really good to get the cloth saturated fast. So we normally use this on the table, on the saturation table, just to get the cloth fully saturated. And then on the hull, we normally use this because with this one you can apply a lot more pressure. And for air bubbles, these Bristol rollers are really good. Unfortunately, we forgot 2 of these in the epoxy tray. So this one is more or less destroyed now. So I have ordered some new ones because these are really good to fast get small air bubbles out from the laminate. They're quite expensive though, so I don't want to forget them in the tray another time. So that's the main tools, and of course we use normal rollers like this as well. This is really good when you're applying the peel ply afterwards, just to get that saturated and fully spread out without wrinkles. We use this, and sometimes also when we're saturating the fiberglass. And then we have this wheel. It's really nice for edges like this when you need to get pressure into a corner. Good tool for that. We also have bigger rollers, but we tend to not use them very much because the problem with these is that it's not so easy to get a lot of pressure because the surface area is a lot bigger on this roller compared to, let's say, this one. But sometimes we use it for peel ply because you have some reach with this one, and for peel ply you don't need any pressure really, so we use it mainly for that. So I better get going. I have a lot to do today. I need to put some more lines on the hull. We have started to draw full lines now on the hull, where the beginning of each and every cloth it's going to follow these lines, and it has worked a lot easier this way compared to what we did in the beginning, when we only had a starting line up there and one down here. So tonight I need to cut the fiberglass lengths, I need to measure all the epoxy for tomorrow. Yeah, the usual stuff. I need to change the plastic on the saturation table and tidy up a bit in here. And then early tomorrow morning, after we have dropped off Vera at kindergarten, this week's work begins. And this week we'll try to do 6 pieces per day. So 18 in total, and that's more or less what we have left here on the port side to do the rest of the port side, all the way up to the bow. And the long-term goal for the coming weeks is actually to try to get the rest of the hull fully laminated on the outside before New Year's. But that will mean a lot of work, so we'll see. We don't want to wear ourselves down too much, but that's our aim, pretty high, and if we don't reach that, that's okay, I guess. But it would have been so nice to have a fully glassed hull before New Year's, so we can have a fresh start with something new in the beginning of next year.
That was the last thing on the to-do list, and now we were ready for the next day.
So it's early Monday morning, 7:30, and it's time to start working, or to start this work week. The diesel heater has been running for a little bit less than an hour, but it's still already pretty warm in here. It's around 15 to 16 degrees. It's not that cold outside now. It's 4 to 5 Celsius, so it goes a lot faster to heat up the barn. Up on the hull, or down on the hull, or the bottom part of the hull, the plan is to do an overlap once we're past the keel pocket, the same way as we did in the stern of the boat. We will overlap by 650 millimeters, so we'll have twice the thickness of the laminate on the whole bottom part of the hull, 8 layers.
I'm checking out my new outer soles of epoxy. At least now they don't leak anymore. By now you know the drill. We add piece after piece of fiberglass to the hull, so we have 4 layers on top of each other. We did 4 pieces before lunch, and then 2 more after.
Yesterday went really well, and we reached our goal of 6 pieces on the hull.
A new day, and for each piece of fiberglass, we get closer to the bow, which means being closer to having one side of the hull laminated.
Going to saturate the last piece for today, number 6. Getting real close to the bow now, which is exciting. We've had a really good workflow these 2 days. It's nice to see the progress that we're making. It's quite motivating. I just want to continue. There haven't been any real challenges. Everything has gone really smooth. We have a perfect amount of epoxy now for the cloth. We know that for the first piece of the day we need a little bit more, and also for the last. Out there rolling the cloth, you don't have to give like 100% of your strength like we needed before. Now it's like 70 and it's not stressful. We just keep a good work pace. We really got the hang of it now. Finishing the hull is getting closer and gonna be so nice when we turn the hull over. Right now we plan on turning the hull in March, February. And we'll see if we can keep that schedule.
By now we were past the kill pocket, so the fiberglass pieces are overlapping to the other side again. With the hull being so narrow now, we could use a ladder on one side and still reach on top of the hull.
So this is the last piece of the day, and we have some extra epoxy on this, like Malin explained before. And the reason for that is that we're going to put peel ply on here, and that draws some of the epoxy out, and we want to have the peel ply saturated. So here we have 50-50, 50% glass and 50% epoxy, and for the rest we have 55% glass and 45% epoxy. So a little bit more here, but after we have removed the peel ply, that takes away some of the excess epoxy. So I think we end up more or less the same.
The last thing to do was to apply the peel ply. This way we don't have to sand the surface before we add a new layer the next day.
We're getting close now. We only have 5 pieces left. We thought we should do 6 tomorrow, but we have done 12 so far this week, and tomorrow we'll do 5. And by doing 5, we'll reach the bow up here and be slightly off down here. But that is as far as we will go for now, and then we'll start working on the starboard side. And then once we have reached that same line on this side, we will tie those 2 sides together here at the bow. One thing that we have found that works really well is to start the day by having a lot of heat in here. Try to get the temp up as high as possible and get the hull quite warm. And then once we start working, we lower the thermostat on the diesel heater 1 degree or so for every length of fiberglass that we put onto the hull. And that way we're working in an environment where the temp is going down during the working day. And by doing that, we have found that we have a lot less air bubbles forming under the fiberglass. And I guess that's because the air that is trapped in the wood, because even if we have this epoxy primer on, in places we do get some air coming out. But by working at a decreasing temp, that air won't expand. We go down in temp until we're finished with the working day, and then we let the temp sit at around 11-12 degrees for a few hours until the epoxy has hardened enough that it can't get pushed off the cedar by any air. And then once it's semi-cured, we take the temp up again overnight. Yeah, and that has worked really well. A lot less problems with the air bubbles forming under the fiberglass.
Wednesday, and here we had already applied 3 pieces of fiberglass. And we had 2 left, and then the pill ply. Look at that! One side pretty much fully laminated. The beautiful western red cedar is slowly being covered, but instead we are adding strength to the hull and making her the fast and stable vessel she's meant to be.
Someone asked us how much extra we had to pay for heating up the barn since we're working in the winter time. And I have to say it hasn't been that bad. So far we've used roughly 150 liters of diesel and around $300 to $350 of extra electricity. So somewhere between $600 and $700 in total, diesel and electricity combined, to have half of the hull glassed. So I'm counting on that we should be able to do the whole hull this winter with extra heating costs for a bit less than $1,500. Of course, it would have been cheaper to do this in the summertime, but then the whole project would have been delayed if we had to wait until then. And also this way we can control the environment a bit easier, because now we can just heat the barn to the temperature we want, and we get a little bit of help actually by it not being too hot in here, since we're not in as much of a rush that we could have been if we were working in the summertime in, let's say, 20-25 Celsius or so. Thanks a lot for watching another week of work on our future Dreamboat, and we hope to see you next Friday when we're back with more work. See you then. Bye bye.